You shouldn't be here, the woman whispered, her voice barely audible over the crashing waves. Alex knelt beside her, brushing wet sand off her forehead. You're the one washed up on my shore, lady. She flinched at his touch, her deep violet eyes flickering with something between fear and exhaustion. They will come. Alex glanced over his shoulder at the vast, empty ocean. The sky was clear, the waters deceptively calm. Who? Her fingers clenched into the sand, as if trying to grasp something unseen. The ones who hunt me. The ones who will drown this world in fire. Alex let out a slow breath. He had fished these waters for over a decade. Never had he seen anything like her. Armor torn, skin unnaturally smooth, eyes too bright, too alien. He pulled off his jacket and draped it over her shivering form. All right, let's get you inside first. Then you tell me exactly what kind of trouble you've brought to my doorstep. The woman hesitated, then nodded. I am Isara. Alex gave a half-smile. Well, Isara, you just made my life a whole lot more complicated. He scooped her up carefully, surprised at how light she was. As he carried her toward his cabin, she gripped his arm weakly, her breathing shallow. He could feel the faint hum of something beneath her skin, like a soft vibration. She wasn't human, not even close. Inside, he set her down on his couch, grabbed a towel, and started dabbing the seawater off her face. Her armor, or what was left of it, looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, but the material was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Parts of it had shattered, revealing smooth skin underneath, marred with faint scars. You need a doctor? Alex asked. No doctors, she said quickly, her fingers clutching his sleeve. All right, but you look like hell. She exhaled, her eyelids heavy. I need time, Alex sighed, running a hand through his damp hair. He had no idea what he'd just gotten himself into. Outside, the waves crashed harder against the shore. Something in the wind felt wrong. Heavy. Watching. Alex stood by the window, staring out at the ocean, the dark horizon stretching endlessly. He had always thought the sea was empty, but now, he wasn't so sure. A low, mechanical hum drifted through the night air, almost too faint to hear. Isara stirred on the couch. They're already searching. Alex turned to her. Who exactly is they? Her violet eyes met his, filled with a sorrow deeper than the ocean itself. The ones who took my world. And they will take yours next. For the first time in his life, Alex felt something he never had before. The quiet, creeping certainty that his world was about to change forever. Alex didn't sleep that night. He sat by the window, watching the ocean while Isara lay motionless on his couch, her breathing shallow but steady. The rhythmic crash of the waves used to be comforting. Now, every gust of wind, every distant splash, felt like a warning. She had called them hunters, the ones who took her world. And if they were looking for her, that meant they were already here. At some point, exhaustion pulled him into a restless doze. When he woke, the first rays of sunlight filtered through the window, casting long shadows across the floor. He turned to check on Isara, but she was gone. Alex shot up, his heart pounding. The door was slightly open, the cold morning air drifting inside. He rushed out barefoot, the damp sand clinging to his feet. Isara stood at the shoreline, waves lapping at her ankles. She was staring at the horizon, her long silver hair whipping in the breeze. Alex exhaled in relief. You're really not making this easy for me. She didn't turn. The ocean is restless. Yeah, well, so am I. He walked closer. Look, you need rest. You can't just wander off. She finally looked at him, her gaze unreadable. Do you trust me, Alex? The question caught him off guard. He barely knew her. A strange woman with unnatural eyes and broken armor had washed up on his shore, speaking of war and unseen enemies. But something in the way she asked made it feel important. He sighed. I don't know. Should I? She turned back to the ocean. I'm going to show you why you must. Before he could respond, she raised her hand. The air around her shimmered, and suddenly the water at her feet receded, pulling back unnaturally fast. The ocean itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, deep below the surface, something massive began to rise. Alex stumbled back as a metallic shape emerged from beneath the waves. A structure. No, a ship. It was ancient, covered in coral and rusted plating, but unmistakably advanced. It groaned as it lifted, water streaming down its massive hull. "What the hell?" Alex whispered. Isara's expression was unreadable. This was left behind by my ancestors. A forgotten weapon. A sleeping giant. The ship loomed above them now, a monolith of alien craftsmanship, half buried in time. "Holy shit," Alex muttered. "You're telling me this thing has been under my fishing waters the whole time?" "Yes," Isara said. "And it's the only chance we have." Alex swallowed hard. "The only chance for what?" She turned to him, her violet eyes burning with quiet intensity. "For survival." A deep, resonant hum vibrated through the air, and Alex felt the hairs on his arms rise. Something had been activated. Something was waking up, and something else was coming. The hum deepened, a low vibration that Alex could feel in his bones. The ship, half buried beneath years of ocean sediment, began shedding layers of rust and debris as if shaking off centuries of slumber. Lights flickered to life along its hull, dim at first, then growing stronger, illuminating strange, alien markings carved into the metal. Alex took a shaky breath. "Tell me that thing isn't about to explode." Isara didn't answer right away. She stepped forward, placing a hand against the ship's surface. The metal responded, shifting beneath her palm as if recognizing her touch. A panel slid open, revealing a glowing interface filled with alien symbols. "This vessel was hidden here for a reason," she murmured. "A final safeguard, left behind when my people fled." Alex stared at the ship, then at her. "Fled from what?" She didn't look at him when she spoke. "The ones who hunt me. The ones who will come." Alex clenched his jaw. "You keep saying that, but I need details, Isara. Who exactly are we up against?" She hesitated. Then, almost reluctantly, she whispered, "The Dar'Kari." The name sent an unexplainable chill down Alex's spine. It was more than just a name. It carried weight, history, something old and terrible. "The Dar'Kari destroyed my homeworld," she continued, her voice quiet but firm. "They are conquerors. Parasites. They take. They consume. And when a world has nothing left to give, they burn it." Alex felt his stomach tighten. "And now they're here." She nodded. "They must have followed my escape pod. I was hoping to reach this place before they detected me, but I was too late." Alex exhaled sharply, rubbing the back of his neck. "Great. So we've got an ancient warship that may or may not still work, a bunch of intergalactic monsters on our trail, and about zero backup. That about sum it up?" A faint smile touched Isara's lips. "You understand quickly." Alex let out a dry laugh. "Yeah, well, it's either that or lose my mind." The ship rumbled beneath them, and a loud clank echoed through the air as another section of the hull shifted. The entrance was opening. A dark passageway stretched into the depths of the ship, lined with dim, flickering lights. Isara turned to Alex. "If we are to survive, we need this ship operational. And for that, I need your help." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Me? I don't know the first thing about flying an alien warship." She shook her head. "I don't need a pilot. I need someone who knows this planet. Someone who can move unseen, who can gather what we need without drawing attention." Alex folded his arms. "And what exactly do we need?" She met his gaze, her expression unreadable. "Power." Alex frowned. "Define power." "Fuel. Conductors. Certain metals that can be scavenged. I can repair the ship systems, but without the right materials, it won't matter." Alex sighed, already regretting what he was about to say. "All right. Fine. I know some places where we might find that kind of stuff, but we need to be careful. This is a small town. People notice when things go missing." Isara gave him a knowing look. "Then we make sure they don't notice." Alex muttered something under his breath, then glanced back at the massive ship, still half rising from the ocean. A few hours ago, his biggest problem was whether he'd catch enough fish to make rent. Now, he was apparently helping an alien princess jumpstart a lost warship while avoiding intergalactic executioners. He shook his head. This is officially the weirdest day of my life. Isara's expression softened. It won't be the last. Alex sighed again. Yeah, figured as much. The ocean stretched wide before them, dark and endless. And somewhere beyond that horizon, something was coming. Something hungry. And time was running out. The wind howled across the shore, carrying the scent of salt and something else. Something electric, charged with the weight of the unknown. Alex took one last look at the towering ship, then at Isara, whose piercing violet eyes glowed faintly in the dim morning light. All right, he muttered. Let's get to work. The next few days passed in a blur. Alex scoured every salvage yard, abandoned warehouse, and forgotten dockside in search of the materials Isara needed. He wasn't a thief, at least, he never considered himself one. But desperate times called for desperate measures. He did his best to stay unnoticed, but there were close calls. The old man at the scrap yard had squinted at him suspiciously when he asked about rare conductive metals. The harbor patrol nearly caught him sneaking through the docks late one night, searching for high-density batteries. But somehow, he made it work. Meanwhile, Isara stayed by the ship, working tirelessly to restore its systems. Every time Alex returned, he found her deep in concentration. Her hands moving across glowing panels, her alien language murmured under her breath as she reactivated long-dormant systems. The ship itself seemed to respond to her presence, humming with a life of its own. Still, progress was slow, and the air felt heavier, like a storm brewing just beyond sight. One night, Alex arrived at the beach carrying an old generator he'd managed to borrow from a storage shed. Isara was waiting, her expression tense. "We don't have much time," she said as soon as she saw him. Alex set the generator down. "Yeah, I kind of figured. You've been looking over your shoulder a lot more." She didn't deny it. "They're close. I can feel them." Alex rubbed a hand over his face. "How close are we to getting this thing off the ground?" She hesitated. "Close, but not close enough." A cold weight settled in Alex's gut. "What do you mean?" She turned, looking toward the ocean. The waves were eerily still. "There's one last thing we need," she said quietly. "And it's not something we can scavenge." Alex frowned. "What is it?" She took a slow breath. "A power core." Alex threw his hands up. "Of course. And I'm guessing I can't just pick one of those up at the hardware store?" "No," she said. "But there is one on this planet." He blinked. "Come again." She turned back to him, her expression serious. "When my ancestors fled to this world, they left behind more than just this ship. They left contingency plans. There is an old relay station, hidden, forgotten, where they stored emergency supplies. If it still exists, it will have what we need." Alex exhaled sharply. "And let me guess, it's not exactly easy to get to." A pause. "It's beneath the ocean." Alex stared at her. "You mean we have to go down there? Where the things that attacked you came from?" Isara nodded. "It won't be easy, but it's our only chance." Alex groaned. "I hate this plan." The next morning, they set out. Isara had salvaged a diving suit from the ship's storage compartments. It wasn't human-made. It was sleeker, more advanced, designed to withstand pressures far beyond Earth's natural limits. Alex, on the other hand, had to rely on a borrowed wetsuit and an old oxygen tank. They swam down into the deep, where sunlight barely reached. The water grew colder, darker. Shapes moved in the distance, shadows shifting through the abyss. Alex did his best not to think about them. After what felt like an eternity, they reached the seabed. Isara led him toward a jagged rock formation, her suit's lights cutting through the gloom. Then, suddenly, she stopped. "There," she said, pointing. Alex followed her gaze. Half buried beneath the sand was a massive metal door, rusted and covered in centuries of ocean growth, the remnants of an alien outpost. They worked quickly, brushing away debris, searching for a way inside. Isara pressed her hand against the surface, and a hidden panel flickered to life. The door groaned, then slowly slid open. Inside, the outpost was eerily intact. Strange machinery lined the walls, preserved by the deep. And at the center of the room, encased in a crystalline structure, was the power core. Alex let out a relieved laugh. "Well, would you look at that?" Something finally went right. Then the water shifted. A deep, guttural sound echoed through the chamber, and the shadows outside began to move. Isara's face hardened. They found us. Alex's blood ran cold. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. A shape loomed outside the outpost. Something huge, with too many limbs and glowing, predatory eyes. The Dar'Kari had come. Take the core, Isara ordered. I'll hold them off. Alex's heart pounded. What? No. We go together. She shook her head. I'm the one they want. If I stay, I can buy you time. Alex clenched his fists. Like hell I'm leaving you. Her gaze softened. Alex, trust me. A deep roar rumbled through the water. The Dar'Kari were closing in. Alex cursed. Then, with a final reluctant nod, he grabbed the power core and swam. The last thing he saw before the outpost doors closed behind him was Isara, standing her ground, her eyes burning with determination. Alex broke the surface, gasping for air. He dragged himself onto the shore, coughing, his limbs shaking. Then he turned back, staring at the dark ocean. She wasn't coming. For a long moment, he sat there, gripping the power core, his mind racing. She had told him to run, to survive. But he couldn't leave her behind. Not now. Not ever. His hands tightened around the core. He had a warship, and now he had a reason to use it. Alex rose to his feet, his jaw set. If the Dar'Kari wanted a fight, they were damn well about to get one. Alex didn't waste a second. He sprinted toward the ship, gripping the power core so tightly his fingers ached. The wind howled around him, the ocean roared behind him, but he didn't stop. The ship was waiting, dark and silent. As soon as he stepped inside, the lights flickered to life, as if sensing his urgency. He rushed to the engine room, his breath ragged. All right, tell me this thing still works, he muttered, slamming the power core into place. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the ship shuddered. A deep hum filled the air as long-dormant systems roared back to life. The walls glowed with alien symbols, screens flickered, and engines rumbled beneath the floor. The ship was waking up. Alex stumbled into the cockpit. Come on, he muttered, pressing buttons at random. How do I fly this thing? A holographic interface materialized before him. Isara had shown him a few basic commands before, but flying a warship? That was a whole different beast. Still, he didn't have time to hesitate. He gritted his teeth and slammed his palm against what he hoped was the ignition. The ship trembled, then lurched upward. The ground shrank beneath him as the warship rose into the sky, engines roaring like a beast awakening after centuries of sleep. The ocean stretched out below. Isara was still down there, and so were the Dar'Kari. Alex exhaled sharply. Hold on, princess. I'm coming. Deep beneath the waves, Isara fought like a demon. She moved with deadly precision, weaving between the monstrous forms of the Dar'Kari, striking with energy blasts that lit up the abyss. But for every one she took down, more emerged. She was running out of time. Then the water trembled. A deep, alien hum resonated through the ocean, growing louder. The Dar'Kari hesitated, sensing something was wrong. Then, a massive shadow loomed above them. Isara's eyes widened. The ship. A sudden explosion ripped through the water as the warship's cannons fired, cutting through the darkness like a second sun. Shockwaves blasted through the deep, sending Dar'Kari bodies spiraling into the abyss. And in the middle of the chaos, Alex's voice crackled through her communicator. Need a ride? Relief surged through her, stronger than she expected. She didn't hesitate. With a burst of speed, she propelled herself upward, dodging the last of the Dar'Kari as the warship's bay doors opened above. Alex reached out, grabbing her wrist as she shot into the ship. She barely had time to catch her breath before he grinned at her. Told you I wasn't leaving you behind. She let out a breathless laugh. You are either the bravest or the most reckless human I've ever met. Probably both, he admitted. Now let's finish this. With Isara back at the controls, the ship moved like a predator unleashed. The Dar'Kari's deep-sea fortress rose from the ocean, monstrous and ancient, its jagged spires glowing with eerie red light. The enemy had gathered their full strength, preparing for an invasion that would doom Earth. Not on Alex's watch. The warship roared across the sky, dodging enemy fire as Isara unleashed its full arsenal. Explosions rocked the battlefield as enemy crafts fell from the sky. The Dar'Kari's forces scrambled, caught off guard by a ship they had long thought dead. And then, with a final, devastating blast, the warship's main cannon struck the fortress. The impact split the structure apart, sending debris and fire raining into the sea. The Dar'Kari faltered. Then they retreated. It was over. Alex slumped back in his seat, exhaling shakily. Holy hell! Isara turned to him, her expression unreadable. You saved me. He gave her a tired smile. Seemed like the right thing to do. For a long moment, she just stared at him. Then, she reached out, resting a hand on his. You are more than you seem, Alex. He chuckled. Yeah, I get that a lot. Outside, the first light of dawn broke across the horizon. The war was over. But their story was just beginning.